Hi, my name is Iona. Welcome back to another heavy dissection of the world of literature. Today we'll be diving into the midst of young adult literature, a recent addition to the library shelves that only began to emerge in the mid to late 20th century. This group of literature was pushed forward to try and navigate the emotions, experiences, and issues within the blurry line of post-childhood and pre-adulthood. Young adult literature is targeted towards a very fuzzy 12 to 18 age bracket that works to bring characters and stories alike that readers can relate to and try to configure their own coming of age and transitions to adulthood. The stories that emerge from the young adult literature world are no more than stories at the surface. Tales of a girl who can shoot arrows, a group of hair product enthusiasts, or a vampire with a heart for his meal. However, beneath the surface there is a lot more. Warm Bodies, a young adult novel published in 2010 by Isaac Marion, is a perfect example of just this, learning to not judge a book by its cover and to instead see the world in the pages and the pages in the world. So, what is Warm Bodies about? Well, Warm Bodies is a post-apocalyptic tale set in the eyes and narrated by none other than a zombie. This walking carcass named R has lost the remaining sounds of his name, among all other memories of his past human life, to the infection that controls this new world. R walks around mindlessly, literally, roaming the zombie-infested airports and street walks alongside his nameless counterparts on their sole journey of finding food. One particular day on a lunch rush, R and his pack encounter a group of living humans, and R eats the brain of one of the members, a young guy called Perry. In this world, the brain is the cherry to the ice cream, granting the eater the experience to relive the memories of the eaten through their own set of eyes. R is consumed with both the physical and emotional body of this person, which opens a forgotten door of emotion and humanity throughout the story. To top things off, R breaks away from his meal with another member in tow, a girl named Julie who begins to hit it off with our cold-veined narrator. On a journey of love, pain, and loss, R finds himself torn between two worlds, two states of being, and knee-deep in the fuzzy grey area between life and death. Although a specific age for R is not clearly given, it is heavily hinted that R is in fact a young adult, through his clothing and a statement made by another human who encounters him in the book named Nora, who describes him to be in his late teens to early 20s. This already indicates that the novel is steered towards a young adult audience. The majority of young adult literature will do just this, framing the protagonist as a young adult as a simple step one to engaging with the desired demographic. The best way to measure how successful engagement with the audience really is to take a look at the reviews and the critics' scopes. Warm Bodies is a bestseller with high praise across the young adult literature platform. Professional critics and the general public alike have praised Marion's clever use of symbolism to highlight real societal level issues for the young adults of the world. Magazines such as Time, Los Angeles Times, and the New York Times all pitched in with praise for the complexity of this narrative, collectively describing it as multidimensional, insightful, an inventive charmer, and a bending of romantic schmaltz, horror, cheese, and an achingly sincere body. Stephanie Meyer, the author of Twilight, another popular young adult fiction, commented, "I never thought I could care so passionately for a zombie. The most unexpected romantic lead I've ever encountered." Collectively, the reviews for this Walking Dead love story have been very high, the general public even pitching in with just under 100,000 votes for a 3.92 average rating on Goodreads. Isaac Marion seemed to have hit the nail on the head engagement-wise, and just like the reviews panned out, there was more to it than the zombie love story seen at the surface. In fact, the entire Warm Bodies story is layered head to toe with themes of the modern world around us, themes of life, death, loss, segregation, discrimination, separation, past, present, love, hate, forgiveness, change, upon many, many more. The two worlds of the living and the dead are a strong set of symbolism for just about any group in society, whether that is the separation and coming together of races, genders, cultures, social groups, and more. Addressing themes like these are all too common and important in YA literature. Maria Nicole Jiva from Cambridge University fused together her background in neuroscience and literature to draw connections in what young adult authors have been reflecting in their novels for years. She wrote that according to laborious scientific brain research, adolescents were still developing actions such as planning, synthesis of information, decision-making, as well as the ability to take other people's perspectives over strong emotions. Therefore, drawing in themes such as these, as well as attention to self-knowledge and sense of identity, not only keeps the reader more engaged, but helps them relate to the story. Many academic book analysis have dived into the symbolic meanings behind every setting, time, character, and action in the novel to show correlation to more meaning. Shmoop, a digital publishing company, stemmed from the work of real academics in literature, described the symbolism and setting, such as the airport where R and his zombie community dwelled in, as thematically appropriate, for being like a holding cell, a purgatory between one part of life and another, which R also addresses near the end of the novel, claiming that to fix a problem that spans the globe, an airport seems like a good place to start. The stadium which Julie, the living world, reside in is a symbol for recreation and community, a place where people come together, a living microcosm of our society. The ironies that are brought from these symbols are uncanny, for a group of stagnant and lost people roaming like clockwork around a place that once meant freedom and travel, and another group of the supposed safe and free ones who are restricted to the walls and barriers of a place that once meant living was not just about survival, but about celebration and community. With a name like Warm Bodies, this novel was marked from the start to be a marker of parallels, of opposites, ironies, and overlooked revelations, and where they meet. More symbols are scattered across the book, as explored by university humanities and social science major Siriat Pulmo, who introduces the brains, the bonies, and the names as more than they seem. Names are one of the first things introduced to us in the novel, or rather, lack of names. R cannot remember his name. I miss my own name, and I mourn for everyone else's because I'd love to love them, but I don't know who they are. This is one major reason why R is so attracted to Julie. And later in the book, when R visits Julie's stadium settlement, he notices the lack of street names and signs, which have all been replaced by strange symbols. Names in this book hold meaning for the past and reminiscence of the old ways, patterns, and also represent the identity of a person, which is why R feels so lost without his, and the community feels so lost without theirs. Brains in this narrative are also symbols to represent memories and keyholes to the past. While R and all zombies alike are drawn to the brain, wanting desperately to feed and to feel memories and emotions, the living are trying their best to forget the old pre-virus life and turn the memories off, like a switch, or as Julie describes, to kill your memories without having to kill yourself. Another important double meaning is in the form of a life-size, fleshless Roma, or a bony. Bonies in this story are zombies who have given up and been around for so long that they've just torn all the flesh from their bones and now kind of roam around truly lifeless, having succumbed to themselves before succumbing to the virus. The bonies have power and control over the other zombies and try to stop any change or resistance or anything un-zombie-like on the dead side of the world. Skeletal authorians, if you will. So, in pages and pages of symbolism, double meanings, and parallels, what do all of these things mean? What does an airport, stadium, name, brain, and a bony all have in common for the themes of a young adult reader? How can any young adult seek to learn anything from this gigantic puzzle? Well, the commonalities of every individual symbol brought together ties in a web of two sides unable to connect, desperately drawn to one another but separated nonetheless. In fact, this entire novel has been interpreted as the transition from childhood to adulthood and the journey of coming to age. The blurry line between life and death is much like the one between childhood and adulthood. It's a layered cry out for the children who are behind their barriers, afraid to move forward and to explore past their patterns and set communities. Communities where the rules tie down to the dress codes and eating patterns and schedules. We have to remember everything. If we don't, by the time we grow up, it'll be gone forever. And a cry out to those entering adulthood who are not yet ready, afraid to walk to the stagnant clock-like beat of a black and white drum. Those who fear the regulations and control and lack of freedom in an age where it should be the most freeing of all. Those young adults who cannot bridge together their two worlds to move on from their childhood memories and are in constant reminiscence of the better times. I eat the brain, and for about 30 seconds I have memories. Then it fades, and I get up feeling a little bit better, a little less dead. But in the end, when Julie and R come together, despite of these fears and despite of these barriers, they can see change and union of two worlds, and most importantly, they can see a future. Wanting change is step one, but step two is taking it. This is so incredibly important to young adults reading this in a time where change can be the scariest thing in the world, perhaps even scarier than zombies. Power and powerlessness is extremely prevalent in the construction of themes, characters, and events in the story. Roberta Trites, a groundbreaking young adult critic, highlights the importance of this narrative strategy, expressing that without experiencing gradations between power and powerlessness, the adolescent cannot grow. With the contrasting characters and warm bodies comes difference in power and control. R is completely powerless over his emotions, his actions, his hunger, and his surroundings. He cannot muster any will against the flesh-eating virus that he carries to act on any of the budding impulses he harbors for humanity and for freedom. However, the surviving humans are also in a position of powerlessness, just of different shapes and colors. They are also controlled by this virus in the ways that they can live. They are unable to live to their fullest, controlled by the desperation to survive, to fight, to seek food, shelter, safety, and to hide. Both parties are sparring against the virus that holds all the power, but focusing their frustration on the other party. When people forget what the underlying cause of the pain actually is, the bigger picture, they in turn peg against one another. When these two groups come together, they gain a new sense of control and power over the virus, showing how they can move forward and move past the chains that limit them, and that takes power away from the virus. This raises themes of change once again, which can be substituted into any struggle a reader might be having within themselves or their surroundings to inspire the will to move forward. The way in which Isaac Marion delivers these messages are extremely well thought out and put together. The deliverance of these themes, issues, meanings wouldn't have been as powerful, say, if we saw them through the eyes of Julie. The importance of narration and point of view in Warm Bodies is so strong, warping the perspective of how we see and perceive themes and how we can empathize with the zombie side of the world. It's hard to imagine the bridging of two worlds when you aren't a zombie, and everything we see in the movies tells us to aim for the head and run. By framing us in the dead shoes of R, this transition is made a lot easier and also engaging and different. Every detail and conversation ties together to truly rip the zombie exterior from this novel, revealing raw elements of material that can be used to inspire young adult readers everywhere. Yeah, it's about zombies, it's about love, and about an ended world, but it doesn't stop there. Of course not. Young adult readers should celebrate the world of YA literature and the complexities of reading between the lines. Books like these are paving milestones for all kinds of issues in the YA communities around the world and providing the ammunition to be able to inspire change. Besides, if that doesn't all work, who doesn't enjoy a good zombie book? Thanks for listening today, and I hope you leave this experience feeling warm. Tune in next week for a step into the shoes of Gothic literature.